Okay, so friends, today we are going to discuss five important topics from current affairs perspective. These topics are like important for the prelims exam 2020. So let us begin with the topics. The first topic that we are going to see is bond yield and bond inversion. Second topic that we will understand is bank merger. Third topic is multimodal terminal. Okay. Fourth topic that we are going to understand is leads index. And then last topic that we will understand under economy is Saral index. Okay. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss today. The first topic for the day is bond yield and bond inversion. Okay, so let us see what do we mean by bond yield and bond inversion and why they were in news. Okay, so let us see why they were in news. Talks on bond yield and bond inversion were recently in news amid global slowdown and raising fears of recession. In India, government bond yields fell sharply in the wake of union budget. Okay, so just before the union budget, the government bond yields fell sharply. So like it went down. So that's why bond yield and bond inversion were like in news. So let us understand what do we mean by bond and what do we mean by bond yield. Then we will understand about bond inversion. Okay. So let us see what is bond. A bond is a debt instrument issued by a country's government or by a company to raise funds and having a maturity period of more than 1 year. Okay. So bonds are those debt instruments, means like these bonds help someone to borrow money. Okay. Means like government can borrow money from the market. Similarly, companies can also borrow money from the market. Okay. So to borrow money, they have to issue some kind of, some kind of paper to the public or to the investors. Okay. Those papers are known as bond instruments. Okay, so a bond is a debt instrument issued by a country's government or by a company to raise funds and having a maturity period of more than 1 year. Okay, so every bond has a price fixed by the issuer known as face value. Okay, so the thing is, every bond that a issuer releases, it has a fixed price and it is decided by the issuer himself or issuer itself. It is known as face value and an annual interest rate known as coupon payment. Okay, so the thing is, every bond has a face value. This is one of the characteristics. Second thing is coupon payment is another characteristic of a bond. Okay, so I have talked about what do we mean by bond. Bond are debt instruments. Using bonds, like government or companies, they borrow money from the market. So later, when the bond is traded in the secondary market, its price fluctuates. Okay, so when it is traded in the secondary market means like Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange in India. When these bonds are traded in the secondary market, its price fluctuates in response to changes in the interest rates in the economy, demand for the instrument, time to maturity, and credit quality of that particular bond. Okay. Then the effective rate of return or the profit that the bond earns is called bond yield. Okay. So the thing is, the effective rate of return or the profit, okay, the profit that the bond earns is known as yield. This is bond yield. Okay. And is calculated by dividing the bond's coupon rate. Okay. It is by dividing bond's coupon rate by its face value. So here we have seen like every bond has two important things associated with this. If we talk about yield on a bond, YIELD, yield on a bond, it is equal to coupon, okay, sorry, coupon divided by face value. Okay, coupon divided by face value. It gives us bond yield. Okay, so this particular statement here says the effective rate of return or the profit that the bond earns is called as bond yield and is calculated by dividing the bond's coupon rate by its face value. Bond yield has an inverse relationship with the bond price. Okay, so the thing is, it is an important statement. Bond yield has an inverse relationship with the bond price. Okay, bond price means the face value of the bond. Okay, so the thing is, the higher the bond price, the lower will be the yield. Okay, so it has an inverse relationship. Now, government bonds referred to as GSECs in India. Okay, so all the bonds that are issued by the government in India, they are known as GSECs or government securities. Okay, GSECs in India. They are known as Treasury in the US. Okay, and gilts in the United Kingdom. They come the government bonds come with the sovereign's guarantee and are considered one of the safest instrument compared to other investment options like shares, corporate bonds, etc. Okay. So the thing is, the bonds that are issued by the governments in a particular country, they are considered as the most safest instrument as compared to the bonds issued by the corporate companies or the shares issued by big companies in that particular economy. Thus, when an economy slows, investor prefers to invest in government bonds. Okay, so it is important. Like when an economy slows, okay, recently the like Indian economy is witnessing a slowdown. So when economy slows, investors prefer to invest in government bonds. Okay, they do not prefer to invest in private bonds. Okay, they do not prefer to invest in like bonds issued by corporates, leading to a rise in their demand and prices and thus fall in the yields. Okay, so the thing is, when the economy slows down, investors prefer to invest in government bonds, which leads to rise in the demand of the government bonds and and prices also. When prices rises of a particular bond, then yield generally comes down. We have already seen how what is the relationship between the bond price and the yield. Okay, they have an inverse relationship. So that is shown here. Like here we have we have written here we have written an equation. Okay, that equation shows the more the face value of a bond, the lesser will be the yield for that particular bond. Okay, so on the other hand, when an economy grows, there will be a rise in inflation. Okay, when an economy grows, so like we will see a reverse trend. Okay, so on the other hand, when an economy grows, there will be a rise in inflation, leading to increase in the repo rate. This may increase rate of interest in other investment options, thus decreasing the demand for government bonds and their prices, leading to the rise in the yield. Okay, so what will happen when the economy grows? People will prefer to invest into the bonds that are released by the corporates instead of investing into the bonds that are released by the governments, because like generally the bonds that are issued by the governments, they are lesser yielding instruments, means like they give lesser returns as compared to the bonds that are issued by the corporates. So when an economy is growing, it simply means that the private sector is also flourishing. So people will prefer to get more returns out of the investment that they are making. So they would prefer to invest into the bonds, okay, that are released by the private entities or that are released by the corporates. So the thing is, then the bond yield also increases. Okay, so then the yield on the bonds also increases. Now bond yields can therefore be useful parameters in assessing economy's health. So if you want to assess the health of an economy, we simply need to see what is the trend in the bond yield in that particular economy. If bond yield is good, in that case, it simply means that the economy is performing well. If the bond yield is not that good, it means that health of the economy is not that good. Okay. So now let us understand like bond yield inversion. So we have understood what do we mean by bond. We have understood what do we mean by bond yield. Now we are going to understand bond yield inversion. Okay. So yield inversion happens when the yield on a longer tenure bond becomes less than the yield for a shorter tenure bond. Okay. So here we need to understand generally like those bonds like that are that are issued for a longer tenure, they should generate more returns. Okay, means like bonds that are released for longer tenure, they should generate more returns. But in case of bond yield, what happens, like longer tenure bonds becomes less becomes less than the yield for a shorter tenure bond. Like yield on a longer tenure bond becomes becomes less than the yield for a shorter tenure bond. This is known as bond yield inversion. And yield inversion typically signals a recession. Okay, whenever a yield inversion happens, it typically signals a recession. An inverted yield curve shows that investors expect the future growth to fall sharply. In other words, the demand for money would be much lower than what it is today. Hence, the yields are also lower. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, now let us understand what do we mean by yield curve. Okay, yield curve simply it is a graphical representation of the yields for bonds. Okay, like over different time horizons. Okay, this is the thing. The term is normally used for government bonds which come with the same sovereign guarantee. Okay, if bond investors expect the economy to grow normally, yield curve is upward sloping. Okay, when the economy grows normally, what happens? The yield curve is upward sloping. When the economy is expected to only grow marginally, then the yield curve is flat. When the economy, like in other case, the yield curve is inverted. When the yield curve will be inverted, when the economy is expected to slow down. When economy is expected to slow down, then the yield curve will be inverted. When the economy is growing, the yield curve will be upward sloping. When the economy grows only marginally, then the yield curve will be, to some extent, it will be flat. Okay, it will be sloping upward, but it will be flat. Now let us understand the next topic for the day. Okay, so next topic is bank merger. We are going to understand about bank merger now. Okay, so let us understand what do we mean by bank merger. Okay, so recently this was in news. Okay, so this is a news topic from the last year. Okay, like from 2019. This is a very important topic for this year's examination. Okay, so recently government announced to merge 10 state-owned banks to create future large banks. Okay, recently government has announced to merge, okay, to merge 10 state-owned banks to create 4 large banks. Okay, so state-owned means like public sector banks are being merged. Okay, 10 banks are being merged to create only 4 banks. So what is happening? Effectively, 6 banks, 6 banks will not be existing after the merger. Okay, 10 banks are being merged to form 4. So effectively 6 banks will not be existing. Okay, this is the thing. So let us understand some more information about this particular news item. Okay, so under the plan, the Oriental Bank of Commerce and the United Bank of India will be merged with Punjab National Bank, Canara Bank with Syndicate Bank, Andhra Bank and Corporation Bank with the Union Bank of India, and Allahabad Bank with Indian Bank. Okay, so it is not necessary for you to remember the name of the banks that are being merged together. Okay, so here this information is given. If you want to learn, you can learn, no problem, but it is not necessary. Okay, this merger would bring number of public sector banks in India from 27 before 2017 to 12. Okay, so it may be 22. So this information, you just need to cross check this particular information. I have taken it from the internet itself. Okay, so they may have merged other banks also, so this information needs to be cross checked. Okay, so after the merger, what will be the total number of banks? That number UPSC does not ask numbers from you. UPSC will be asking what are going to be the benefits of merger of the bank, what are going to be the concerns associated with the merger of the bank. So they will ask analytical questions, means like they will try to understand how deeper you have understood a topic. Okay, so they will be more conceptual in nature. Okay, so that's why we are discussing about bond yield, bond curve, bank merger, these kind of topics. Okay, instead of taking very factual topics. Let us see like benefits of bank merger. So if we are merging the banks together, what are going to be the benefits? One of the benefit will be global banks. Like once we merge different banks, so like lesser number of banks will be created. Those lesser number of banks will be big enough, right? They will be big and they will be comparable to the global banks. Okay, so the other thing is it will lead to the consolidation of the assets of the bank, and then it will have greater recognition. Okay, and it will have higher rating internationally. So the thing is merger of the bank will lead to creation of the global banks. Okay, second thing is risk management and large loans. Okay, the thing is when we have large number of small banks, those small banks are not able to finance big projects. Okay, when we are merging the banks together, what will happen? Those banks will have larger asset pool with them, so they will be able to able to finance big projects. Okay, so the thing is they will be issue like larger loans, and at the same time they will be able to handle the risk more effectively. So risk management will happen properly, and larger loans will also be forwarded by those banks. The next benefit of merger of bank will be customer service. Okay, so large size of the bank will have the merged banks to offer more products and services to help in integrated growth of banking sector. Okay, it simply means like big banks have better customer service. This is the simple thing. Okay, bigger banks have better, operational channels. They provide better customer service to the customers. Then if we talk about human resource, the wide disparities between the staff of various banks in their service conditions and monetary benefits will narrow down. So if we have larger number of small banks, so every bank have their own pay scale, they have, their own way of paying or remunerating their staffs. So if we have, larger banks, so like they will be providing to some extent, similar benefits to all their staff at different levels. Okay. Then we will have improved regulation also. From regulatory perspective, monitoring and control of a smaller number of banks will be easier after mergers. Like it will ease the process for the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so for Reserve Bank of India, there will be, lesser number of banks to manage. So like they will be able to regulate those bigger banks in a easier manner as compared to, more number of banks. Okay. Then it will also help the banks to reduce the cost. How? So we will see. Okay, these banks are owned by the government, and each bank are competing with other for the same pie in the same narrow geographies, leading each one to incur cost. It simply means, like, we earlier we had larger number of smaller banks. So those smaller banks, like in the same area, if we talk about, in the same locality, if more than one banks are there, okay, more than one banks are there, and at the same time they are offering the same kind of services to the customers. So there is a competition between the different banks. Okay. So the thing is, the separate banks, like those banks are incurring more cost, and at the same time, if we have larger big banks, so they will have just, a smaller number of branches. So the thing is, like, there will not be, those cutthroat competition among the banks. So the thing is, it will lead to reduction in the cost in terms of, managing that particular premises, and employing more number of people like that. So the thing is, after merger, they will be employing lesser number of people. Okay, so it will cut short their cost. Okay, so these are going to be the benefits of merger of banks. Once again, I will just reiterate the heading. It will lead to creation of global banks. It will, ease the process of risk management and creation of large loans. Then it will lead to improved customer service. Okay, the management of human resources will be improved. Okay, and then it will improve regulation for the RBI. Then it will also reduce the cost for the banks. These are going to be the benefits of merger of banks. Now let us see what are going to be the challenges of merger of bank. Okay, one of the challenge will, like, it will overlook regional requirements. Okay, so how it is going to overlook regional requirements? When we have, larger number of smaller banks, so those smaller banks compete among one another, and they extend loan to customers who may not fulfill the, like, tedious KYC norms of the banks. So the thing is, when we have larger banks, so those larger banks maybe, maybe providing loans by going through the stringent KYC norms. So it will lead to lesser, lesser number of creation of loans in the regional, arena. So this is like, it will overlook the regional requirements. Second thing is, there will be a syndrome that is known as too big to fail. Means, like, when we create larger banks, when we create, like, small number of larger banks, what will happen if just one bank fails? It will have, like, a wider, like, it will have more effect on the economy, not only Indian economy, it may have effect on the global economy as well. Okay, so creation of larger banks of like a smaller number of larger banks will lead to creation of a syndrome which is known as too big to fail. And we have witnessed this particular situation in 2008, where Lehman Brothers, okay, so this was a bank in US, so they were involved in, subprime lending. So it led to, like, once that particular, bank, so that was, like, once that particular bank has defaulted in payments, so, like, it had ripple effects globally. Okay, so that global slowdown was witnessed. So that is, this syndrome is known as too big to fail syndrome. Then, like, when we create, when we do bank merger, what happens? Job losses happens, because, bank merger essentially means, like, creation of lesser number of banks, lesser number of branches. When we have lesser number of branches, they will be requiring lesser human resource. So the thing is, so existing human resource may be cut short by the bank. Okay, they may ask the employees to go for VRS, like they will ask for to voluntarily take retirement, and at the same time, like they will create lesser number of jobs in future also. So it will lead to job loss. Then other issue will be cultural clash will also happen. Cultural clash means like every organization has its own work culture. Okay, let's consider we have Punjab National Bank, we have State Bank of India. When these banks are merged together, what will happen is State Bank of India has its own culture, like own, like work culture. Punjab National Bank may have its own, work culture. When they merge together, so the employees of both the banks will be coming together, so there will be, cultural clashes, like work cultural clashes simply. Then it will lead to disruption in services also. Okay, so I will read it for you. It may lead to deterioration of services and disruption in the near term as the merger process gets underway. This will lead to a further slowdown in lending for a while. Okay, so the thing is, it may lead to deterioration of services and disruption in the near term as the merger process gets underway. So once the merger process is started, what will happen? The thing is like, the banks that are getting merged, so like they will have to streamline their, resources together. So they will have to work on the kind of softwares, that they are operating on. They will have to train the manpower in their, organization. So it will lead to disruption of the services during the process when the merger is underway. Okay, so these are the things. Now, so what steps needs to be taken by the government? Okay, so these are the steps. Standard process should be followed. Okay, so the thing is, there is no standard procedure to choose the banks for merger. So in India, as of now, the finance minister has just announced that they are going to merge 10 banks. They are going to form only four banks out of those 10 banks. But like no set procedure is there. Okay, so they do not have any standard procedure for the merger of banks. Okay, so the thing is, the government should design a standard process for merger. This is one thing. This is just way forward that we are reading. Then consultation with the stakeholders. Okay, all stakeholders must be taken into confidence before the merger exercises is started. Then reduction, like reduce the NPAs first. So they are saying, like, NPA means non-performing assets. Okay, non-performing assets are classified as those loans that are extended by banks, and if those loans are not, getting returns for consecutive 90 days. Okay, so EMIs are not, the people who have taken loan, they are not giving EMIs for consecutive 90 days. So over 90 days, it is now classified as non-performing asset. Okay, so the loans that are extended by banks are classified as assets because those loans generate, profit for the banks. Okay, in terms of interest rate that they are charging from the customers. Okay, so the thing is, like, they are saying, like, one of the way forward is reduce the NPA first. The government should clean the bank book first and then consolidate the weak bank with the strong bank. Okay, this is the thing. Then governance reforms must be done. Okay, along with the bank consolidation, government should take immediate measures to improve the governance and get desired result. Okay, so these are the things related to bank merger. Okay, these topics are very important because they are analytical in nature, and UPSC asks questions from economy that are analytical in nature, that requires you to apply your mind. Okay, now let us talk about the third topic for the day. Okay, having discussed the merger of the bank, we will discuss the third topic for the day. Okay, this third topic is, it is multimodal terminal. Okay, so friends, one thing, if you have to ask any question, you can raise your hand. Okay, so the thing is, I have not put my earphone. If you raise your hand, I'll be able to, I'll get notified that someone of you wants to speak something. Okay, once you raise your hand, I may allow you to speak. Okay, till then, like, I'll be just discussing from my end. I'll try to finish the topics, okay, as soon as possible. So let us discuss the third topic for the day, which is multimodal terminal. Okay, so recently, the second riverine multimodal terminal on River Ganga was inaugurated at Sahibganj, Jharkhand. Okay, so this is the second riverine multimodal terminal on River Ganga. Okay, and it is the second riverine multimodal terminal in the country also. Okay, so that's why this multimodal terminal is very important. Okay, so after I finish this topic, okay, I'll leave you with a home assignment that you can do that will help you to understand this topic in a better manner, and you will be able to answer a question if a question comes on this topic. Okay, so let us understand why this topic was in news recently. The second riverine multimodal terminal on river Ganga was inaugurated at Sahibganj, okay, Jharkhand. That place is not that important, but the topic multimodal terminal is important. What do we mean by multimodal terminal? We will understand this thing. Okay, so now let us learn more about the, on the news. Okay, so it has been built under Jal Marg Vikas project. Okay, so there is a project of the government of India which is known as Jal Marg Vikas project. Okay, this is the second riverine multimodal terminal in the country. Okay, so this is the second riverine multimodal terminal in the country. The first has been built in Varanasi. Okay, and was inaugurated in November 2018. The last terminals, okay, that the last terminus is also being constructed in Haldia. Okay, the objective behind the scheme is to promote inland waterways primarily for cargo movement. Okay, so Inland Waterways Authority of India is the project implementing authority. Okay, it is the project implementing authority for the project. Now let us understand what do we mean by multimodal terminal. It simply means, like, for the transport of goods, like if we talk about for the transport of goods in an economy, what are the ways that we use? One of the ways, like, like within an economy, if we talk about, like, in the geographical territory of a country, like if goods are to be transported from one city to another, let's consider we are transporting some goods from the state of Delhi, okay, from Delhi to, let's consider, Karnataka. If we are transporting goods like that, so what will happen? We can either transport through road only, and if we have some access to some river channels are there, some river is there, so through river also we can transport. But like that river may not have continuous stretch from Delhi to Karnataka. It may be like in between. So what will happen? Some portion of the road, okay, like some portion for the overall transport, we can use the road, okay, and then for other portion we can again use the like waterways. Then the next part we can use the road again. So this is known as multimodal terminal. Like here, like like roadways is used for transport of goods, railways is used, and then waterways is also used. Okay, uh, generally for shipment purposes we do not use, like like this air travel and all. Air travel is used for lighter goods. Like when we talk about heavy goods, very heavy goods, everybody prefers to use the waterways. Okay, then for very lighter goods, people used to people prefer the airways. For like moderate weight goods, okay, like moderate density or moderate weight goods, people use this roadways or railways, like that. So this is the thing. Now let us understand. Okay, so we have understood that Inland Waterways Authority of India is the project implementing agency for the project. Okay, so now let us understand about multimodal transport. Okay, multimodal transport. Okay, so this is the meaning of multimodal transport that we are going to read. Okay, multimodal transport is the movement of goods from point A to point B using different modes of transport. Okay, so it means like movement of goods, okay, movement of goods from point A to point B using different modes of transport by a single transport operator. Okay, by a single transport operator. It is an effective mode in a large and diverse country like India, where an end-to-end delivery is a humongous task. Okay, then the Multimodal Transport Act. There is an act also in India. It is known as the Multimodal Transport Act. Was passed by the Indian Parliament in 1993 to establish a standardized regime for the multimodal transport operators. Okay, so why this particular act has been enacted by the government? Okay, this act has been enacted by the government, okay, to establish a standardized regime for the multimodal transport operators, okay, MTOs. So what are the benefits of multimodal transport? We are going to understand about benefits of multimodal transport. Okay, it minimizes time loss at transshipment points. Okay, it minimizes time loss at transshipment points. Second benefit is it provides faster transit of goods. Third is it increases the competitiveness. Fourth benefit is it establishes only one agency to deal with. Okay, it establishes only one agency to deal with. So let us learn it in detail. Okay, benefits of multimodal transport. It minimizes time loss at transshipment points. Multimodal transport operators maintains its communication links and coordinates with the interchange onward cargo smoothly at transshipment points. Okay, the burden of issuing multiple documentation and other formalities connected with each segment of the transport chain is reduced to a minimum. Okay, this was the first benefit. Second is it provides faster transit of goods. The faster transport of goods is made possible under multimodal transport. It also reduces the disadvantages of distance from the markets. Okay. The next point, it increases competitiveness. How it increases? The inherent advantage of multimodal transport system will help to reduce the cost of exports and improve their competitive position with pricing in the international market segment. Okay. Then next, it establishes only one agency to deal with. Okay, so it establishes only one agency to deal with. The consignor needs to deal with only one multimodal transport operator in all matters relating to goods or delay in delivery of goods at destination. This has direct implications for for ease of doing business. Okay, it has direct implication for ease of doing business. Okay, now let us discuss about the Jal Marg Vikas project. Okay, Jal Marg Vikas project, because this multimodal transport thing is being developed under the Jal Marg Vikas project. So it is important for us to understand about Jal Marg Vikas project. Okay, so the thing is the government is implementing this project for the capacity augmentation of navigation on Haldia Varanasi stretch of National Waterway 1. Okay, which is in Ganga River. So we have already discussed that National Waterway 1 is in Ganga River, National Waterway 2 is in Brahmaputra River, National Waterway number 3 is in Kerala, in the state of Kerala. National Waterway number 4 is in the state of Tamil Nadu, okay, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, like that. Then, so there are 6 national waterways in India. We have discussed this thing like earlier through a mapping practice. So here we are discussing that the government is implementing this project for the capacity augmentation of navigation on the Haldia Varanasi stretch of National Waterway 1 with the technical and financial assistance of the World Bank. Okay, so the thing is the government is getting technical and financial assistance from the World Bank. So it is important information. That's why I have highlighted this thing. Now, under this project, construction of 3 multimodal terminals. Okay, so under this project they will construct 3 multimodal terminals. Second is underway. Okay, second inauguration has happened for the second thing. Third will also happen soon. Okay, so under this project, construction of 3 multimodal terminals, 2 intermodal terminals. Okay, 2 intermodal terminals, 1 new navigational lock and works for fairway development, river information system, like vessel repair and maintenance facilities, and RO terminals. Okay, so road to road terminals, okay, are envisaged to be completed. These are the things. Now let us talk about the significance of second multimodal terminal at Sahibganj. Okay, now we need to understand that both the multimodal terminals that have been that are being developed by the government, they are on National Waterway number 1 only. They are on Ganga River. Okay, first one goes on Varanasi. Okay, this is also this also comes in Ganga River. Second is Sahibganj, like which is in Jharkhand. So this is also in River Ganga. Okay, this is important. So significance has been mentioned over here. Okay, so the thing is you just need to read this significance. So I'll be reading it for you. The multimodal transport at Sahibganj will open up industries of Jharkhand and Bihar to the global market and provide Indo-Nepal cargo connectivity through waterways route. Okay, so it will provide Indo-Nepal cargo connectivity through waterways route. Second, it will play an important role in transportation of domestic coal from the local mines in Rajmahal area to various thermal power plants located along National Waterway number 1. The other than coal, stone chips, fertilizers, cement, and sugar are also commodities expected to be transported through the terminal. It will also help to create direct employment of about 600 people and direct and indirect employment of about 3,000 people in the region. The convergence of road, rail, river transport at Sahibganj will connect this part of the hinterland to Kolkata, Haldia, and further to Bay of Bengal. Okay, it will connect to Kolkata, Haldia, and further to the Bay of Bengal. Okay, so this is all that we had to discuss on this topic, the third topic. Okay, so friends, just a minute. The discussion will get terminated within a minute from now. Once the discussion gets terminated, you can join me again and we will cover two more topics. One is Leeds Index, second topic is Saral Index. These are very important topics. We'll be able to finish both the topics within 10 minutes, okay, within 10 to 15 minutes, at most 10 minutes, I guess. Okay, we will be able to finish the topic, so you can join me again. We will continue the discussion, okay. So at this point of time, the discussion will get terminated within a minute. Okay, so I won't be taking, like further the fourth topic now.